when we look at the vertebral column, we say that it has the curvatures. Now, this is what happens when an itty-bitty baby that's born comes out in the C shape, and it has to grow from that point to the adult. As that baby grows, the baby begins to roll over and sit up and crawl and walk and run. Okay? So, as itty-bitty baby does all of that, their spine goes from being the C shape to what should be abnormal curvatures in an adult. So we're going to say there's a cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrococcygeal curvature, usually given this little nice S shape, which is what we usually refer to it as being. Now, some of these curvatures can get exaggerated, okay? They can be abnormal. For example, getting a abnormal downhand lumbar, okay? That's going to be lordosis. If there's an abnormal curvature up in the thoracic area, we end up with kyphosis. Scoliosis is where there's a lateral shift in the spine. Okay, it can shift to one side. And depending upon how exaggerated, how much of an issue it can be for the person. And sometimes it can lead to having to go through severe surgery to correct it. A vertebra itself. The vertebra have a very interesting shape. When we say vertebra, okay, here's the features that you're going to find on the vertebra. You're going to find the body, which is that massive portion, and the body, okay, massive portion. We have a vertebral foramen, telling me there's a hole present, okay? The area for the spinal cord, okay? So that's going to be that foramen. We have a vertebral arch. Some of you have more of a pronounced one than others, depending on which vertebra you're looking at. A pedicel or a pedicle, okay? The foot of the arch on each side to help form lateral walls, because lateral means to the side, okay? We have the lamina, a transverse process okay, a spinous process, an articular process, okay, and intervertebral notches. When you look at this vertebral column, it's very well articulated, but it has a lot of many projections, holes, processes, everything to it. However, this structure of a vertebra is not by chance, okay? One of the biggest things we're doing is we're protecting the spinal cord. The other thing we're doing is we're allowing for the exit of those spinal nerves. Now, when we look at how they articulate these processes, both on the lateral sides as well as the anterior and the posterior portion near that spinous process, are allowing for this articulation to take place with that vertebra. Now, how many regions did I say that we had in the vertebral column? We've got our cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal. Now, when we look at the articulation of these, okay, you should be able, once you're done studying, and after I give you a little more explanation, be able to tell me from which region that vertebra is that you're holding in your hand. Now, something that can go wrong with our spinal cord in utero, okay, meaning while pregnant, spina bifida. Ever heard of it? No? It's the reason that if you're in childbearing years, they suggest you take the folic acid. Because what can happen is in the formation of these vertebrae, the lamina, okay, basically spina bifida, they fail to form or they fail to fuse. And what this does, it allows for the fluid surrounding the vertebral, around the spinal cord to project out. And it can, you know, children who are born with it can actually be paralyzed their entire life. Yeah, so it's a pretty hefty problem. Not very common, okay, but they have found that if the mother takes folic acid, it tends to not show up as much. So, when you begin to look at the vertebral column, one of the things that's found between each of those vertebrae is going to be the disc. Now, because we're talking about the vertebral column that's under severe pressure, stress, however you want to put it, gravity, okay? One of the things about the discs, they are fibrocartilage, the toughest cartilage that we have. They have a lot of the collagen fibers, okay? Their job, be able to have a little bit of compression, but not a lot. However, we can sometimes do stuff to make that worse. And they're trying to show a little herniated disc right here. If you've ever known someone who's had a herniated disc, okay? And notice what happens. That's poking out. It can actually press on other nerves that are present, and this is why they can be so painful, all right? And depending on the care and everything like that, it may or may not need surgery, okay, and the severity of it and that sort of thing. So this would be the intervertebral disc. that's existing, okay, which gets completely pressed down on all day long by gravity. As we get older, they get compressed more, don't tend to snap back as much, and we begin to lose our height as we get older. The herniated or the ruptured disc is where, like I was showing over there, pieces of it kind of get pushed out in between the two bones, the two vertebrae, and yes, very painful for some people. Now, how can you tell the difference between a cervical, a thoracic, and the lumbar region? Size of what? The disc?
Spinous process.
I want you to look at the spinous process. A lot of people like to think you look at the body of the vertebra. No, I want you looking at the spinous process. The spinous process in the cervical region, these are going to be forked. They're termed bifid. It looks like the spinous process does this number, okay? Like it has two little pieces that come out of the process. The thoracic spinous processes all point downward. The lumbar processes all project straight out. So if you look at your spinous process, that one's pointing completely down. Which one?
Thoracic.
Yours? It's pointing downward. Yours lumbar. Yes. That's completely downward. If it's pointing completely downward, it's thoracic. Lumbar. Thoracic. Lumbar. That's going to be thoracic. Lumbar. Yes. And that's pointing a little down. Thoracic. Yep. So, the bodies, the reason that I say don't pay attention to the body is because when you get to T12, because there are 12 vertebrae for the thoracic region, there's not a lot of difference in the body between T12 and L1, the lumbar. So if you based it on the body, you could, choose the wrong one. So always look at those spinous processes. Now, as we look at these vertebrae, and I couldn't find my atlas and my axis, okay, in the box that we have. But when we look, all right, first of all, how many of you like to go? Y'all like to do that? Okay. The reason that we can do that is because of the first and second cervical vertebra. All right? They're termed the atlas and the axis, C1 and C2. So if I want you to give me their names, and I have C1 laying out, I want you to tell me it's the atlas. If I have C2, I want you to tell me it's the axis. Okay? The C1 and C2, their shape is the reason that we can take our head, yes, no. Okay? Note that C2 has a projection And C1 has this really cool indentation that sits down over top of it, held in place by a transverse ligament. Therefore being the reason, yes, no.